Good evening. Tonight's Shiur is entitled The Darkness Before the Light. So this Shiur is the fourth Shiur of this series, and it's the first Shiur in this part of the series. So just before we discuss tonight's topic, I'd like to give a short synopsis of the last part number one, before we begin part number two, and that way we won't lose the flow. So, in part number one, we were discussing preparations and prerequisites for Mashiach. So, section number one was about eliminating the cause of Galus, which we talked about how through Achdus Yisrael, our unity of the Jewish people, that's the way that we eliminate the cause of Galus. And we discussed also what the Rebbe had said, that now we've already corrected that as well, and now Achdus is here as a preparation, a te'ima, a foretaste of the Geula. That was part number one. And in part number two, we discussed about Tshuvah. What is the Shiur? How there's another prerequisite for Moshiach Tshuvah, and we explained also what the Rebbe said about that, how Tshuvah was done as well, because every single Jew has definitely had a hiru Tshuvah, some thought of Tshuvah. And then we had part number three about the believer is a heretic, meaning that it's not enough just to believe in Mashiach, but we have to await Mashiach and we have to ask Hashem to bring Mashiach. So all of that, this is all about the preparations and prerequisites for Mashiach. Now we're up to part number two, which is about the process of the Geula. And tonight's topic is about the darkness before the light. So what we're going to see about in tonight's Shiur is how we see in many places in Chazal, in the writings and teachings of our sages, it seems that the darkest point of Galus, the darkest point of the exile, is specifically before the Geula, before the redemption. So what we're going to discuss tonight is, why is that? And why is the darkness before the light, why is the process of Geula such that it's darkest before the light? So we're going to begin with the famous Gmorah, the end of Mesivta, which describes in detail what the world is going to look like in Ikvasa de Mashiach. So the Gmorah, the last daf, the last page of Tractate Site, it says Be'ikvais Mashiach, and literally in the footsteps of Mashiach, which means, as Rashi explains, Be'ikvais Mashiach means Besoif HaGalus L'fnei Bias Mashiach, the end of the exile before Mashiach comes. And the Brisa here, the Gmorah, the Talmud enumerates about 20 different things, negative things, the way the world is going to look, which many Gedolei Yisrael, many Torah leaders, including the Rebbe, have stated emphatically that all of these have been fulfilled in our generation more than ever. So let's go through them. Terrible things, seemingly. Number one says chutzpah yazge, which means that there will be a lot of chutzpah, a lot of insolence. V'yoiker ya'amir means that the costs of things, the prices will soar. Then it says, Hagefen titei pirya v'hayayin b'yoiker. It says the vine will give its fruit, and nevertheless wine will be expensive. Why will that be? Similarly, there's fruit. So Rashi explains, Hayayin b'yoiker shahakol oiskin b'mishtois. The wine will be expensive because everybody's going to be drinking. Everybody's going to be a bunch of drunkards. So even though there'll be plenty of wine, but wine will still be expensive because of the great demand. And the Gemara continues, Umalchus tehofich laminus, which means the kingdom will turn to heresy, which the commentaries explain means that the great superpower of the world will indoctrinate people with a belief of heresy, which I think we could see, unfortunately, very much these days. Ve'ein techacham, it says, and there's ve'ein techacham, there's not going to be anyone to rebuke them. As Rashi explains, no one will have the ability to rebuke each other. Everybody will commit the same sins. And when one tries to rebuke one another, the other person will say, "You're just like me." And the Brisa continues. Which means the meeting places will be made for harlotry, which a lot of the commentaries explain that to mean. So Rashi explains one way, it means the place usually where scholars would come now will be used for harlotry. All wise men will be gone. No one will be learning Torah. Will be destroyed because no one will be there. Other commentaries explain it to mean that people will practice harlotry in public. They'll designate places without any embarrassment. It says the Galilee will be destroyed. Gavlan, which is another place, it's not clear exactly where it is. It will also be desolate. The people living on the different commentaries, some explain it means the people living on the border of Eretz Yisrael, they will go from city to city, they will have no rest. And then it says, the wisdom of scholars will go sour. In other words, the quality of learning Torah won't be the same. The people who fear sin will be despised. The truth will be lacking. Says, young people, they will embarrass their elders. The elders, they will stand up before young people. In other words, the elders will respect the young people, the opposite of the way it should be. Ben Menavel of a son, he will disgrace his father. Bas Kama Be'ima, a daughter, she will rise up against her mother. Kala B'chamaisa, a daughter-in-law, she will rise up against her mother-in-law. Oivei ish anshe veisai, the enemies of man, they will be the people of his house. And Pnei Hador ke Pnei HaKelev, it says the face of the generation will be like the face of a dog. There's different explanations in the commentaries. One of them is the face of the generation refers to the leaders. So what does a dog do? The dog runs out in front of its master, and it seems as if the dog is the leader, but really the dog is just looking back to see where its owner is taking it. So too, in this generation, so the leaders pretend to be leaders, but really they're just looking back to see whether they're accepted by the public opinion. The son will not be embarrassed from his father. And the Brisa concludes, who do we have to rely on? On our Father in heaven. In other words, it's going to be so bad, we have to rely on Hashem. So over here, the Brisa over here predicts terrible things, 18, 20 things, depending exactly how you count, what the world looks like in Ikvasa the Mashiach, in the time right before Mashiach comes. So let's see now another Gmorah. Similar. So actually, this beginning of this Gmorah in Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadik Ches Omen Aleph, Sanhedrin 98a. So this Gmorah actually seems it could be understood, at least the way Rashi understands it. It seems that it's actually positive. So let's see. Rabbi Abba says like this: Ein lecha Keitz megula mizeh. What he means to say, there's no more clear sign that the end of Galus is near than the following verse. A verse in Yechezkel, in Ezekiel, Shenemar, Va'atem Horei Yisrael. Now you, mountains of Israel, an peichem titenu, your branches will give forth, Uferyechem tisu, and they will bear fruit, L'ami Yisrael, for my nation, Yisrael. So it seems like it's something positive, that's how Rashi explains it. Megula mizeh, why is it a sign of Mashiach? Rashi says, when you see that Eretz Yisrael produces its fruit with the good eye, in other words, it's in a good way, then the end of Galus is soon. You have no other clear sign that the end is near. So it seems, according to Rashi at least, that's a little positive. But let's continue the Gmorah. You have another three sages, another three Amoraim here that give other signs for the imminent arrival of Mashiach. Rabbi Elazar says like this: Af mizeh, says there's no clearer sign than the following verse, a verse in Zechariah, Shenemar, Ki lifnei hayomim ha'ela, hayomim ha'em, before those days, Schar ha'adam le'iyeh, it says there will be no schar over here means there will be no wages for man. Uschara behema inena, there will be no wages for animals. So Rashi explains like this. Rabbi Elazar says from Mizeh HaPosuk, from the following verse, Kishetira, when you'll see, the ain shumadim mistaker, no one is making money. And even when you rent out your animals, you also can't make money. Says that's the sign that Mashiach is coming. And he quotes an earlier Gmorah. Says even the work of the earth, which is to an animal, also is gone. That's a clear sign Mashiach is here when there's so much sawdust, no one can make money. And the verse concludes, to those that leave and come, there is no peace from the adversary. So the Gemara asks, what does it mean to those who leave and come? There's no peace from the adversary, from the enemy. Two explanations. Rav explains like this. Even Torah scholars, concerning whom peace is written, it says that there'll be abundant peace to those who love your Torah. Still, there'll be no peace. What does that mean? Rashi gives two explanations. Rashi says, when you see that there's no peace, then Mashiach will come. Shalom Rav, Rashi says, what does it mean to those who leave and come? These are the sages. Those who should be leaving and coming with peace. Like it says, there is abundant peace to those who love your Torah. Even for them there will not be peace. So the Gemara says they won't have peace min hatzor, from the enemy, from the adversary. Who is that referring to? Rashi gives two explanations. Who will the Torah scholars not have peace from? Exactly. One Rashi says min hatzor, miroiv hatzoros, because of the great pain, the great problems and troubles they will have. Or lishnachrina, another version is miyetzu hara. They won't have peace from their own evil inclination. So that's how Rav interprets this verse. Shmuel says, the meaning is as follows: till all prices will be equal. So there's two ways to understand that, either in a positive sense or in a negative sense. Positive sense, Rashi says, Shavin shar hatfua b'yayin revachim. It means that the price of produce, of grain, and of wine, it will be cheap. Like it said earlier in the Gmorah, there will be great plenty. Lishnachrina, or another version, is in a negative sense. Shkulan means shavin, shekulan yikorim. It means it'll all be expensive. You can't get anything for a cheap price. So here we have another few examples of negative things that are going to be in the time before Mashiach. So the obvious question is why is that the preparation for Mashiach? Why is the Gmorah telling us that all these negative things that are happening, that's the sign for Mashiach? What does that have to do with Mashiach? Seemingly, the preparation for Mashiach should be something positive. The world should be getting better. In the words of the Maharal in his Sefer Netzach Yisrael, Perek Lamed Beis, Rabbi Yehuda Lowy, chapter 32. So he words the question like this. He says this is totally against the way things work in the world. Kol havoya shu ba'olam. Any existence in the world, he misava mixas achar mixas. Everything is created a little bit after a little bit. Which means to say everything develops. It starts off as small and it gets greater. Children, a baby is born small and a person grows. A person's knowledge starts off minimal and a person's knowledge grows. Trees start off small. Everything starts off small and then becomes greater and develops. Like you see in all existence. Things that grow, Balichayim and animals, they develop, they grow, and they become bigger and greater. Now the question is, why when it comes to Galus do you see the opposite? Close to Mashiach, you see the Jewish people are at a low. Both their lowliness themselves, it seems the Torah is almost forgotten. So there's no greatness among the Jewish people. And furthermore, they are despised. The nations despise them. Each time more than was before. It's the big question. So what we're going to see this evening is 3 different explanations of why this is. And what we can learn from it. So, number one, I'd like to share with you just one vote which from the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Goldberg Lubavitch. He says that actually this phenomenon is something that happens every single day. Says you see every single day before dawn, the darkness is much greater. And he says the same thing, the same thing applies also right before the coming of Mashiach. Says you see that there's going to be so much insolence and so on, like we saw in the Brisa. So he explained, this is the darkness is becoming greater before the revelation of light. Which light? The Yom HaGadol of the great day. Which will be all light. Which will be an essential light. In other words, what he's saying is that there's this phenomenon. This is the way things work. That before the greatest light, first there's darkness. So the truth is, this itself we have to understand. Why is it that way? Why is it that before the greatest light, there's darkness? Why is the darkness there before the light? So, let's see the Kli Yakar at the end of Parshas Shmais. The truth is, we found a similar thing in Galus Mitzrayim, the Egyptian exile. Before the Geula was about to come, before the Jews were about to leave Mitzrayim, before they were about to leave the exile, what happened? Moshe Rabbeinu came to Parai. And what did Parai say? Parai said that, what's going on over here? He said, you're looking to leave Egypt, make it more difficult. And Moshe Rabbeinu came to Hashem with a taino, with a big question. He said, what's going on over here? You sent me to Parai to bring the Geula. The Geula is about to come. It's the redemption. And what happened? As soon as I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, you've only made it worse. What's going on over here? So the Kli Yakar over here says that actually in Hashem's words to Moshe, he actually answers the question. And he says a similar thing to what the Rebbe Rashab said. He says like this, Yedua Shekaki Hamida. Says it's known that this is the way things work. Every single day, close to dawn, it is darker than the darkness of night beforehand. And it's only afterwards that the light of dawn breaks through. Another example, says, so do most people who are sick, close to their death, they get stronger. And then death comes. The same thing is in the winter. Soon, right before dawn, it gets the coldest before dawn. And then the coldness is overcome by the sun, by the heat of the sun. So what's the explanation of this? Why do we find this phenomena in the world? So he explains. He says this is a natural thing. He called any natural thing, anything which feels that there's something opposite, something opposing it that's coming. That's coming to negate its existence. What that thing gets stronger in order to try to combat the opposing force which is coming to try to overcome it. It's gonna refuse to follow. It's gonna do whatever it can do by its nature in order to exist. Eventually it will be overcome. The opposite will have overcome it. The same thing applies to all those things. The same thing applies, says, to the end of the night. The same thing applies to people who are about to pass away. The same thing applies in the winter, the cold. That's the way it works. When something feels, when the darkness feels that it's about to be overcome by light, it does whatever it could to try to exist. And that's why it's more dark. And he says, the fact that Paroi, at the end of the Egyptian exile, the fact that he did worse to the Jewish people, more than he had done beforehand, this is a clear sign that his end is near. And that the time of the redemption is about to come and destroy all of Parei's things. That's why Parei is looking to do whatever he could to keep the Jews in exile. So in other words, what the Kli Yakar is saying over here is, why is it so terrible before the Geula? Because it's the Choshech, it's the darkness of the Klipa, of the other forces, which is giving its last shot because it knows that it's about to go out of existence when the Geula comes. So that's the Kli Yakar's explanation. Beautiful. Now, let's go back now to the Maharal. So the Maharal in his Sefer Netzach Yisrael, which is all about the Geula, actually the name of the Sefer itself, Netzach Yisrael, the victory of the Jewish people, actually is itself a title which tells you that he's talking about the Geula. So the question that we asked was in Perek Lamed Beis, chapter 32 of Netzach Yisrael. So he explains this concept for many, many prakim. And then in Perek Lamed Tes, he gets back to the Gmorah in Sanhedrin. The Gmorah in Sanhedrin on 98b, which we started off with. So I'll tell you the main point, the gist of the Maharal's answer. He has a little bit of a different twist than the Kli Yakar. He says like this. He says that the Geula that's going to come is something so great, something so amazing that this world, there's nothing in this world that can prepare us for that Geula. So therefore, the old world has to fall apart before the new world can emerge. So when you're experiencing all the darkness before the Geula, what you're seeing over here is, it's the old world which is depleting, which is giving way for the new world, the new Geula, the new revelation of the Geula. And the Maharal over here, and that's like I said, he's going to beautifully go through each one of those statements in the Gmorah and Sanhedrin, and he'll explain how each one is telling us another point about this. So he says like this. This answers your question. The fact that before the Redeemer comes, you'll find in the world that the world is depleting, that its existence is changing. The answer is clear. This is the sign that the sages gave, a clear sign that the Redeemer is coming. When you see that the world's existence, it's depleting, it's changing, it's losing itself. And he quotes over here the Gmorah that we just quoted. So just go over outside. So we had Rabbi Abba's opinion, who said He said the sign of the Geula is the fact that you see that the trees are giving fruit. He'll explain that a little bit different than Rashi in a second. Rabbi Elazar says the fact that the people won't be able to find work. People won't have money. Then we had Rav who said that Talmidei Chachamim, they won't have peace from their troubles and from the Yetzer Hara. And then we have Shmuel who said the fact that the price of everything will be high. In other words, it'll be difficult to buy anything. So what he's going to explain, the Maharal's going to explain now how each one is showing you another aspect of this world, one greater than the other, how you see the world is falling apart. And giving way for the new revelation. So he says, all these things are coming to show us about how the world is going to fall apart before the generation of Mashiach. That's why he says there's no end time more clear than this. He says, you mountains of Israel, your branches will give forth. So what is it? What does it show? This teaches you. He says the point of the Gmorah is actually the opposite. It's saying that once Mashiach comes, then the trees will give fruit. But what the Gmorah is coming to tell us is that before Mashiach comes, the trees will not give their fruit. They will not give their yield. It implies that before the Geula, the mountains of Israel are not bearing fruit. This is a clear sign that the end is near. When you see even natural things that are part of the natural way the world works, they won't exist. This is not the way of nature. Usually the world goes on its pattern. Trees bear fruit and so on and so forth. What's going on over here? Obviously, what do you see? You see that the world is giving way for a new world, for a new existence. So that's Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Elazar adds another point. Before this new world is going to come about, he says even work it'll be lacking. There'll be an deficiency. Meaning the wages of man. That will be lacking as well. And what does this show? This shows on a great change. When it comes to wages, when it comes to getting paid, that's not something seemingly that should be missing, that should be lacking. It's something that people work for. It's not something that needs a bracha, like something that comes through nature. In other words, something that comes through nature, like the trees yielding fruit, that, it happens. It's really dependent on Hashem. We plant the tree, we hope for the best, we daven. But you need Hashem's bracha, you need Hashem's blessing. When it comes to work, however, seemingly it's something that it's dependent on people. Yeah, you work, you get paid. So why shouldn't that happen? It shows that the world it's falling apart even more. Even in such a thing, there'll also be lacking. There'll also be a deficiency. So that was Rabbi Elazar's statement. Now let's move on to number 3. Rav adds, even for the sages, there won't be peace. He says, although usually the Talmidei Chachamim have peace, says, nevertheless they won't have peace. All this is because of the great ascent and the great new existence which is coming to the world. To the extent that even the sages will also feel a deficiency beforehand. They won't have peace. In other words, it's so new, it's so great that even the Torah scholars are not, the way they are now, they can't be ready for it. That was number 3. Now, number 4, Shmuel adds that all prices will be equal, which means there will be a deficiency in everything. Sometimes this is lacking. Sometimes something else. But the course isn't in everything. But Shmuel is saying, he's saying that since the Geula is going to be a completely new world, therefore the depletion and the lack will be in everything. And therefore he said that the sign of the Geula is the fact that all the prices of everything is equal, everything is expensive, the entire world is falling apart. And the Maharal concludes over here that the shows on the great. Sorry, that's the same. Yeah. So the Maharal concludes. He makes a summary over here. So basically, we had four sages here, right? Each one added over the other. So he says like this: now understand as follows. So the Rabbi Abba, he said that first of all will be a deficiency in natural things. Then Rabbi Elazar added then even things which are not natural, meaning meaning things which are created through work. Meaning something which is less expected to change. And number 3, Rav adds, even the sages. A Talmid Chacham is someone who is an intellectual. He's definitely less expected that he'll change. As he explains, something which is created through work, even though it's not by the very nature of the world. It's something which is created by the will of man. If you want, you pay your worker. If you don't want, you don't pay him. It's dependent on your mood. It's not logical necessarily. He's an intellectual. No, intellect is about people who are more intellectual. They change less because they're more idealistic. They're thinking about the way things should be. So even Talmidei Chachamim who have that quality, it's less expected that they should change. Even the Talmid Chacham he will also be lacking. This includes everything, right? Things of nature, things which are dependent on people's desire, and things which are even people who are intellectual. They will all change. They will all be lacking. And then Shmuel adds the general picture. He says there's going to be lacking in everything. That's the point that Maharal goes on to say, that basically Chazal in these 4 statements, they basically told us everything, because this includes everything in the world. Based on this, you understand that there's going to be a complete breakdown in everything. And what's the point of all this, says the Maharal? What's the point? Why are they telling us all this? Because when you'll think deeply about these things, then you'll understand the greatness of the new existence that's going to be in the world. For the change in the world, we'll be able to know and understand how great this new existence is going to be, how great the Geula, the new redemption, is going to be. So that's the basic point of the Maharal, that he says that the Galus, in a certain sense, can't prepare us for the Geula. What the Galus has to do, Galus has to wipe away the old world in order to make way for the new Geula to come. So you can ask on the Maharal, seemingly, so what are we doing here in Galus? Seemingly, we're just waiting over here, we're just wasting away, Rahman al-Islam, God forbid, just waiting for the Geula to come, and we have to suffer all the tzores. How could that be? So, we have to go a drop deeper, go to the teachings of Chassidus, and I'd like to share with you a sikha, something the Rebbe spoke on Shabbos Parshas Matis Masei Tafshin Tezayin. in 1956. It's also printed in Likutei Sichos in the second volume of Likutei Sichos in Parshas Dvarim. It's edited by the Rebbe. Over here, the Rebbe gives us a deeper understanding of Galus. We spoke about this many times already, that according to Chassidus, Galus is not just about an atonement for our sins. It can't be that we should be in Galus for 1900 years, God forbid, just to atone for sins. It has to be that there's a process. There's something happening over here. There's something much greater in store for us. So over here, in this Sikha, the Rebbe brings us a mashal, an analogy from Chassidus. So the mashal goes as follows. Chassidus mevur pnimios inyan hagalus. Chassidus explain what the deeper meaning of Galus is. Al pi mashal mehashbas harav l'talmid, to using an analogy of when a teacher is teaching his Talmud. So the way it usually works is like this. When the teacher is giving over the idea to his student, he pays attention, he gives attention to the student. Now, what happens? Now, suddenly in the middle when the Rav is teaching, suddenly this new idea falls into his mind. So the sequence, the nature of when you have a new idea, the teacher has no choice, he has to focus on the new idea which is coming into his mind. If he's not going to give his attention to the new flash of insight, it's going to be concealed, he's going to forget it. And afterwards it's not going to help anything. So, because of the great love that the teacher has to his student, so he wants to focus his attention to that new insight. Why? In order that he should be able to receive it and understand it, and then afterwards also to give it over to his student. So that's the mashal. So now we're going to analyze this mashal. So now what happens? Let's think. Well, what happens over here when the Rav when this teacher, he is diverting his attention from the student and he's trying to grasp this new insight, this new idea. What's happening? So when the teacher, when he puts his attention to the new idea, the more focus he puts on the new understanding, the less attention he gives to the student. And he, in his hashbah to the Talmud, what he's teaching the Talmud is weakened. And furthermore, the greater the new insight is, the deeper it is. So the greater his attention will be focused into the new idea. And therefore he'll have less attention to the student at that moment. To the extent that for the student, it's Galus, it's exile, it's destruction. My teacher's not paying attention to me. He deserted me. He distanced himself from me. Seemingly. But what do you see from this mashal? However, that's only on the outside. However, if you look at it deeply, this is actually the ultimate revelation. On the contrary, the very fact that for the benefit of the student, the teacher is diverting his attention from the student in order to receive this new idea. It shows on how great and how precious this new idea is. To the extent that the teacher is willing that at least momentarily the The student will have destruction, he'll have exile. In order that eventually you'll be able to teach this new idea to the student. So what's the point here? What do you see over here? What's the point of this mashal? You see, the greater the concealment, that itself shows on how great the revelation is. It shows that this new idea is so precious. And you see that because of his great love for the student that he wants to teach him the new idea, so it's worth it that at least temporarily he's going to distance himself and he's going to hide himself. In order that eventually he should get this new idea. So what comes out? So this is the mashal. Yeah? This is the mashal. So basically to sum up, what do you see in this mashal? The mashal over here is that on the one hand you see that when the teacher is distancing himself from the student, it's not a real Tehilliim. He's not really hiding himself. He's not really distancing himself. It's really Geula. It's the first step in revelation. Furthermore, you see, number two, is that the more he focuses on the new idea, the less attention he gives to the student, that shows on the greater the revelation and the greater love that the Rav, that the teacher has for the student. So it says, based on this, now we can understand in the analog, what's the real idea of Galus? Although on the outside it seems like it's exile, it's destruction. But really, what's really happening? It's the greatest revelation. It's the revelation of the future redemption. Because of the revelation of the future redemption, and it's worth it that at least temporarily there is exile, there's destruction. As long as eventually we're going to get to this revelation of the future redemption. And the Rebbe is now going to say that this explains also the answer to our question. Why is it that before the Geula, why is it that you have the greatest darkness? According to this mashal. So the Rebbe says over here, I'm just paraphrasing, is that what you see is the same phenomenon, that as soon as the more Galus moves on, the worse it gets. And this happened both in Galus Mitzrayim, the Egyptian exile, and our Galus as well. What happened in Galus Mitzrayim? Right? The Jews were in Egypt for 210 years. 17 years it was good. Then Yaakov Avinu passed away, right? Then it still wasn't so bad. The Shvatim died, right? Until eventually, right? What happened in the end, as we discussed? In the end, it says, the closest they came to the redemption. Then it says, said, as soon as I came to Pare, that the Geula is coming, it's the time for the redemption, he only made it worse. As the more Galus moves on, the Galus only gets worse. So first, in the beginning of Galus, there were Tanayim, there were Amayroyim, there were great sages, and then it's only gotten worse since then. Till we're in this level of Ikvis in the Mashiach, which is like the heel, which has no life. So what's going on over here? So what do you see from this? Says the Rebbe, Miseidus that move on. Galus is not just about atoning for sins. There's something deeper. What's really Galus about? It's really about revealing a new light. It's just like the analogy of the teacher and the student. Because of the focus of this new light, and that's why temporarily Hashem, so to say, is not being mashpia to us. He's not giving to us. It doesn't seem that it's we don't yet see the revelation. Therefore, as time moves on, the more the focus is on the future redemption. The closer we get to Mashiach, the worse Galus is getting. So what's the bottom line? Right? So what's the bottom line for us? It's the bottom line. So basically on this we understand this is much deeper than the Maharal. This always gives us a whole new perspective. The Maharal, it seems that we're preparing for the new revelation. What's happening? It's just that the old world is falling apart. Over here, according to this mashal that Chassidus gives us, it's not that the world is falling apart. Really what's happening is the world is preparing itself for the Geula. Hashem, so to say, is like the teacher that's focusing on the new Gilui. And to say there is, the sequence is that when you focus on the new Gilui, so the first step is that the Talmud is the student, the teacher is distancing himself from the Talmud. Talmud seems like it's concealment. But eventually, what's going to happen? Really, this is all the preparation for the new Gilui. So what do we need to know from this? Says the Rebbe, the lesson is like this. Despite how dark it is, that seems like it's just getting worse. You see to the extent that the kingdom is turned to heresy. There was never such a darkness. That's the point. Don't be nisbal. Don't be afraid. You have to know that it's only getting darker because we're getting closer to the Geula. So what do we need to do? Says the Rebbe, two things. In order to draw down the Geula to the student. What does the student have to do now? That's the question. What does the student... So the Rav he's thinking about this new idea and the student is waiting there patiently. So what is his job? What's his job? How is he going to make this happen? So from him, we demand of him two things. Aleph, number one, is Hayadiyah. Number one is he has to know. Number one, it's the knowledge. You have to know that this concealment, it's only on the outside. It's external. You have to know that really deep down, this is the ultimate revelation. That's step number one. But that's not enough. It's not enough just to know. Number two is, says, there needs to be the hiskashrut v'atzimoin al-harav. Yes, there has to be the connection. There has to be the thirst to the teacher. Despite the fact that the teacher, he is now somewhere else, so to say. The Talmud, the student, he has to have that same feeling of connection and thirst to the teacher. So the way it is at the time when the teacher is giving to him, even more. And he brings to the famous statement of the Alter Rebbe, who said that I want nothing besides Hashem. That's the feeling we have to have, that we want to have that thirst. It's through that thirst that creates the new revelation to us. This to conclude with a story to explain this last idea, that it's through the thirst, through that feeling that we want the Geula. That's what brings the Geula to us. There was a story that I heard recently from the Rebbe's brother, Rebbe, he was known as. If I remember the story correctly, so the Frierdiker Rebbe, there was a certain Indian in Chassidus that the Frierdiker Rebbe told him, and he said this other concept in Chassidus, he says you're not shy to it. Says it's you can't understand it. It's going to be beyond you. And Label, as he was known, was very broken. And that entire night he cried, and he was very broken by the fact that he wasn't worthy to receive and to hear from the previous Rebbe this new idea in Chassidus. And the next day, if I remember the story correctly, so he was called over by the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe told him the Indian Chassidus, and he said he didn't quite understand everything, but a little bit he understood. And later he was bringing with Chassidim in Tel Aviv, and he said the story after a lot of l'chaim, and he said he thinks that what changed was the fact that he had that feeling of shvira, that he was broken, and he had that great thirst that to understand this new concept in Chassidus, that's what made him a keli, that's what made him a proper receptacle, that he'd be able to understand this new idea. And I think it also says that the word of the Baal Shem Tov that he says that Kein ba kodesh chazi sicha. He said halvai ba kodesh chazi sicha, which means he says the pasuk says that Tzamar l'cha nafshi, a Jew says, David HaMelech said that my soul thirsts for you. Beretz tzia v'oya bli mayim, in a parched land without water. And Kein ba kodesh chazi sicha, the Baal Shem said that if only that I'd see you, in other words, I'd experience that same thirst when I'm not in a desert. In other words, when a Jew is in a spiritual desert, when he's in Galus, in the end of Galus, and it's so dark and it's so difficult, and there's so much concealment, and we're looking for the Geula, where is it? We feel this great simoin, that itself draws out by a Jew, the greatest simoin, and that simoin itself, the thirst itself, like we discussed last week, the anticipation, and the bakasha, and the request for the Geula, that itself is what makes us proper recipients, and we're able to draw down this Geula, which is already happening, which Hashem is already preparing for us in Galus, which is at its peak, and it's about to happen. So basically, just to conclude, so over here we have basically three explanations about why the end of Galus it gets worse. We have the Kliyokar, which said that it's because the darkness feel that it's being overcome by light, and therefore the darkness is trying to oppose it. And that's why the darkness becomes greater. We had the explanation of the Maharal that said it's because it's the old world that's falling apart to make way for the new world, the new revelation. And then we have the explanation of the Rebbe of Chassidus that what's happening over here is that it's like the teacher who's preparing the new idea, who's focusing his attention to the new idea, and it's so great and so high that he's putting more and more focus, and really what's happening is that he's preparing the new revelation to very soon give to us, which is the Geula, the revelation of the Geula HaMitzvah Shlema. And it's our job to remember, to know that, and realize that when we see darkness in the world, really what's happening is that it's really revelation. And we have to have that simon, we have to have that thirst, that we want it to happen, and to happen now. And the Rebbe told us that it's happening, and it's just one thing that we need to tip it. We just need to tip it over. Ma'aseh is one action to tip the scales and bring the Geula HaMitzvah Shlema. So next week actually will not be a shiur, but 2 weeks from now we'll learn about another step of the process of the Geula, which is about the war of Gog and Magog. B'ezras Hashem with Rabbi Mendel Moskowitz. And any questions?